Welcome everyone to episode 100 of the COD Casuals. We're your host Justin.
And I'm Mike.
Mike, how you doing?
Doing all right.
All right?
I'm doing great.
Great?
I'm doing great. Yeah, this is a different setting for us.
Yeah.
Than normal.
If you guys are listening on audio, definitely go to the YouTube because
get the
different
YouTube
surrounding.
YouTube plug right away. Go to
Yeah.
YouTube COD Casuals. Immediately right off the rip. Yeah, I mean we like I said we do every episode. Everyone knows we do it in at your place.
Yep.
In your room, and now we're in a conference room.
Yeah.
With the third person.
Yeah.
There.
So definitely go to YouTube to
Yes.
check this out because I know we've been hyping up this episode for a long time. 100 weeks in a row, big milestone for us.
Hell yeah,
Good
man.
shit.
We did it.
But let's just cut to the chase.
Yeah, let's do it.
Because we've got a very special guest, first ever guest on the COD Casuals. I got a little intro for this guy, right?
Let's hear it.
So, he was a former Call of Duty pro player. He was the first Australian COD player to break out in the North American scene. He played on teams like Curse AU, Mindfreak, Tainted Minds, Reciprocity, and the Paris Legion. He is now the general manager of our hometown team, the Boston Breach. We welcome Denholm Denz Taylor.
Absolute beast. My friend, thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you, man.
It is a pleasure, and I love the intro. Honestly, I feel
I was gonna say
skyrocket high.
What do you
Like,
feel
wow.
right now? The ego is
Honestly,
like
I'm so confident. Get me back on the sticks after that.
absolutely.
Yeah, man. Like we appreciate you taking the time to hop on the podcast because our whole goal for this was to introduce more people to CDL, and all of a sudden the Boston team popped up, and you became the general manager. And I know I've been watching you for like years now. Mike has too.
Yeah.
Man, it is an honor for us
No,
to be sitting here.
truly, it is
Yeah.
an honor. It's weird. Like we were talking about this when we first talked. When was it? Was it at the Modern Warfare 2 release when
launch.
it came out? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then we were just there and see like all the other pro players that are walking around, and then we see you, and me and Justin are just like looking at each other trying to play it cool. I'm like, dude, that's fucking Denz right there. And I'm like, dude, that's methods, bro. I'm like, is this really what we're around these people right now?
Yeah.
It's very weird. So, I mean, it's great to have you. I mean, we've been hyping it up on the podcast. We had to skip the episode trying to get this scheduled. So we're thrilled to finally have you. And yeah, just to start off, like super basic question, because everyone knows, there's the people who are in the CDL who are
Yep.
going to watch it. They know who you are. They don't need the whole intro. But for the people who are watching who don't know who you are, give us a little insight. Who are you? Who is Denz?
Who am I?
Who are you?
I guess I'm just more so just like a COD fanatic. Obviously, being a professional player, I'm just constantly 24/7 about COD. And at a time in my career, it was kind of like, do you hang up the sticks? And it's such a difficult decision. But when I was in Australia and I was playing at a professional level, I also got my marketing degree. So I was pretty confident that I could wiggle my way through like the COD Esports ecosystem. So yeah, I'm an avid COD person. I like to think I'm pretty smart. I like sports. That's kind of how I've got like my competitive desire in Call of Duty. And yeah, like other than that, there's not too much about me besides COD.
I guess like lead off of that, right? Like, did you start off playing COD like when you were younger, or did you play any other games?
Yeah, I think the only reason I got into Call of Duty was because I used to play football or soccer, as Americans would say it.
That was a really good American impression. There's soccer. The hard R.
And I was on holidays with my cousins, and I actually severed the tendon in one of my toes. So I was on crutches for like 8 weeks, and obviously in that time, I was sitting my fat ass down on the couch, and I was playing World at War. That was my first ever COD game. It was interesting because I went to like the Best Buy of Australia, and I was like, yeah, Dad, we need to get the newest COD. And I'm like, I don't know, probably like 12 at a time, and he's like, Call of Duty, like this looks violent, like and whatnot,
right. Rated M.
Yeah.
Especially that one too.
Yeah, like people's legs are blowing off, flying off, blood's going everywhere.
Yeah.
And yeah, so we bought that, and I had like I was just playing campaign because I wasn't really big on the multiplayer, and I didn't know too many of my friends in school that like played multiplayer. It was just like, yeah, have you finished zombies? Have you done the campaign? And I'm like, yeah, like done this, done that. But my dad's pretty like, he's like a tech dad, so like he knew what was going on with the internet. He's all the devices. Started multiplayer, and yeah, found my way through that kind of avenue. So the reason I went in COD is because I got injured, and that was pretty much like, I wouldn't say my first game, because I've played like FIFA and whatnot.
Like all the typical like sports games.
Yeah, all the typical sports games.
FIFA, Madden, and
yeah.
whatnot.
And I used to have the original Xbox, so I think it was like Ghost Recon was like the first.
Oh, the OG Xbox. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember that. Yep.
And I was playing campaign on that, and everyone's like, yeah, you should get Xbox Live and Halo. And I'm like, I'm 10 years old. I don't have money for Xbox Live. Like, but yeah, that's kind of where
it all started.
That-
The gaming obsession.
That's wild, man. I mean, we didn't even discuss this before, but that was my first COD too. Was World at War, and it was like the same exact story. You know, as I got it, and I was scared shitless playing that game.
Yeah.
You know, because it was just like you said, it's gruesome. You know, and then seeing like, you remember when you beat the campaign, you get Nazi zombies unlocked.
Yeah.
And it's like that whole image of like it kind of like fades in and out. It's scary.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, same thing. I was campaign guy like through and through, just playing it, and then going into it. World at War, underrated COD. You know.
Maybe it's nostalgia, but I
think it's
like,
nostalgia.
I was like, that game is so good.
Oh yeah, it was amazing.
I can't speak on it because
Yeah.
that wasn't my first COD. My first COD was very original, MW2.
Yeah.
But I went back and played World at War with one of my buddies because they had the co-op campaign,
Yeah.
and like that's great.
Yeah, well, World at War though, that was like with you with the multiplayer experience, because I played on the PS2. There was Finest Hour, Call of Duty Finest Hour. You ever heard of that one?
No.
That was, I don't even think there might have been multiplayer for that. People listening are correct. So yeah, there was, but I didn't have online on PS2.
Yeah.
But yeah, when that game came around, it was like right around COD 4 and then World at War, and then I think after that was MW2, and that's when the whole online scene came in. So you said you started playing a little bit of online in World at War. Like
Yeah.
you kind of got into it, and then where did it go from there? Like, were you just kind of playing it casually, enjoying the game, and then you started realizing you're really good? Like, what was the growth from there?
Yeah, I mean, I was just playing like public matches, and then like I get like messaged from like back then, like nobody really had a Bluetooth mic or anything, but I got message from a guy. His name was Chang Gang 101. He's like, "Do you want to be part of my S&D team?" And I'm like, I have no idea what's going on.
Shout
I'm just
out Chain Gang 101.
yeah. I mean, but the funny story is, I was like, yeah, sure. And anyway, he's taking me into this private match, and he's like, and my name at the time was Junior JT, which is John Terry, because I used to like Chelsea Football Club. Some other people say Justin Timberlake, but that's not true.
Right.
And he's like, yeah, like Junior JT, like you're gonna be the guy that plays bathrooms on Asylum. And I'm like, okay, cool. And I'd have to message him because I didn't have a mic.
Right.
Yeah.
And then after that, I deleted the account because I was like, these guys are fucking nerds.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was like, what is this shit?
Yeah.
So I made a new account because I was so weirded out by like the competitive, how nerdy and geeky it was. I'm like, that's not me.
Yeah.
I'm a cool kid.
Right.
Like I play
You play
sports.
football.
Yeah.
Right,
Like,
right. Yeah.
like
Yeah.
this ain't me.
Yeah.
And then I made a new account, and then I just ran into some other guys, and we're just pubbing about again, like in headquarters, trying to get as many kills as possible. And then got into like the forums, signed up for some tournaments, and just try to like, I was like a little 12-year-old, and I was playing with like people that were like 19, 20.
Just shitting on other kids.
Yeah. And I'm like telling my dad, Dad, I need a Bluetooth device. He's like, what do you need Bluetooth for? And I've got this, back then it's like the fat TVs and whatnot.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
And I'm playing it in the living room, so
like us.
Yeah.
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 Crisscross. Staring up.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you're looking up.
bigger
and
the
it's-
better.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And my mum and dad, whenever I was playing, it's like I had to turn it down so there wasn't gunshots firing throughout the house kind of thing. And then kicked off, and then just kind of found my way through the Australian gaming forums.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
what did that look like, the Australian gaming forums? Because I'm not very familiar with
Yeah.
it. Was it easy for you to find people to be playing with at the time? Like these guys who were 19, 20, were they just people that you came across and they were like, hey, you're really good, you want to party up and we'll just play and progress from there? Like, what does that look like?
It was kind of the latter. It was kind of like, hey, like, because I've gotten headquarters, so I'd always verse these guys. There was like Kano, Pachoch, all these guys that would party up in a party of 6.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know anybody that played, so I was just by myself, and I was just being so annoying. And anyway, they invited me to a party, into the PlayStation chat. Obviously, didn't have a Bluetooth yet. And then I started getting invites to that, and then they'd sign us up for tournaments. Like, I didn't do anything. I was just like, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Am I available 7? Actually, no, I got like training or whatnot.
Right.
But I did like going around and just, because they were good. Well, what I thought was good. These days it might be like
Cringe.
It's like, just probably if they were to play ranked today, they'd definitely be on the lower tier.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But
Yeah.
I thought they were good at the time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the competition level was like nothing.
Yeah, it was nothing. Yeah.
Back then for sure.
How I was gonna ask, like you rising through the ranks of the Australian like COD players. I know like in the NA scene, like in all the older CODs, it was always North American players are always better.
Yep.
They don't focus on like European players, Australian players. Like no one really even thought about. Same with the Asian players. Like it was all North American. Like how was that for you breaking into the North American scene? Like finally, because I remember seeing you play, and I was like, holy shit, this guy is so fucking good.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, when was it? Like, I mean, in Call of Duty Ghosts, that was when I attended my first LAN. So that was 2014. That was even my first Australian LAN. So, like, and then we won the championship, like the APAC championships, and we'll go into Call of Duty champs. And it's a funny story on why I decided to like go to these LANs and switch it over to Xbox. Is because I saw one of my friends, one of my long-time friends, Damage or Damage Geek. He was actually with me in Curse AU and Trident T1 Daughters. He showed me like this YouTube stream or Twitch stream of Farico Impact in Black Ops 2 and Call of Duty champs, and I was just like, I was looking at it, I was like, they don't look that good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I could do that. And he goes, so you want to make a team and we'll look for 2 other people? Like, yeah, like, why not? Let's give it a go. I'll like, I'm playing anyway every day, so sure. And then, we come 5th at champs. These Australians from out of nowhere. We had like Unreal S&D, and we won like $75,000 and at the time, like from Australia, like that's a good chunk of change for like casually playing, so to speak.
And how old are you at the time?
I was 19. Yeah.
That's a good chunk of change at
Yeah, I was gonna say that's pretty good money.
Yeah.
Right now that ain't bad.
Yeah, I mean, I would take it right now too, for sure. But that's kind of when I was like, my mum and dad were like really like, oh, like our son's talented and he can kind of make like a thing out of this as well. But yeah, and then from then onwards, even the next year after that, we come 6th at champs. But it was always hard to go to like multiple tournaments because coming from Australia to America, it's like flights are $2,000 each, accommodations $2,000. So having someone to pull $10,000 out of their pocket isn't the easiest ask.
Right.
And then that's when around World War II, when we got to come over to Columbus and we do the Pro League, the LAN hosted Pro League. And I remember my mum saying at the time, it was kind of like, I don't want like no ifs or buts or maybes. Like you got to go 100%, because if you don't go 100%, you will always go, oh, like, what if I went harder, or what if I did this?
You didn't want to regret anything.
Yeah, exactly, right. And even in World War II, we were okay as Mind Freak, but I was like looking at jobs and like in the esports scene, because I was like, the stability for an Australian person to play in North America is very difficult. And then it's like, you need visas, you need a place to stay, like it's a big investment. And I was lucky enough at the end of that cycle where reciprocity was like, yep, we'll pick you up and here's the contract terms. And I showed my parents and they're like, okay, sure, like go for it, right? Like you got a place to stay. And that was super awesome.
Yeah, no, I can only imagine, man, because it sounds like your parents are very open about whatever you do, put 100% into it, and they're completely fine with it. Yeah,
I mean they were very supportive. Obviously, when I was younger, and I'm not gonna lie, like I was a terror of a child as well. So like, they say you've only got 2 hours, and I'm saying, Mom, I got a competition, like I can't get off now, and the classic, can't you pause it, kind of thing. He's like, no, I can't pause it. You're not understanding.
Yeah.
So, there were moments where with my parents there was a lot of back and forth, and I'd chuck a tantrum if like it was really important, or I thought it was really important, and they would get upset, that I'm like disinvested into something where it's like put myself in their shoes now that I'm older. It's like you could just see it's like, oh, like I'm wasting my time kind of thing.
Right.
Yep.
So yeah, that was a hurdle, but once the PayPal checks started coming through, it was kind of like, hold up a second, like there's something more to this than we know.
Right. Yeah, that's what I was wondering is like you're saying about the support, which I'm assuming it got a lot better when you started making good money from playing. Was it a bit of a rocky start at first when you were just like coming up like through the Australian League, trying to play like these local tournaments, and then somehow ending up playing in COD Champs and winning that kind of money? Like, was there a turning point where your parents were like, they saw from an event, they're like, okay, like you're making money from this. This looks to be something that could be sustainable, and we're really going to like push all the chips in with you on this?
Yeah, I think, the money wasn't crazy in Australia. Like going through the ranks, like, I know when it was like Modern Warfare 2 or something, I'd be like getting like $300 every like 3 months just playing like the tournaments and whatnot. But $300 when I was 13 was like
$1 million.
Yeah. I was like, rocking around in school thinking, I can buy anything I want kind of thing.
Right.
But yeah, so there was a time it was Black Ops 3 and they did the regional league, so the EU, APAC and NA, and then that's where all the prize distribution was for each region, and we were the best team there, so we kind of got, I think it was like 45,000 US for whoever came first place in Australia. So that was like probably when it started getting like serious, where my parents would like fully support it. Because even today, like the APAC prize pool is just, there really isn't a prize pool for APAC. So then after Black Ops 3 and you come into your other games and Infinite Warfare and whatnot, it was, I did have to go to uni, so there was like, they felt good that I was doing something and not completely 100%. But yeah.
How's balancing like uni or college as we call it in the US, balancing like school and being a pro player at the time?
Yeah, how I would do it is I would pretty much book all my classes at the start of the day. So I'd play till 2 a.m. or whatever the case may be, wake up at 6 a.m., get through my classes by 12, get back home, nap, repeat the process, like play and then eat, and yeah, just keeping that.
Very healthy. You know?
Yeah. But I kind of like I said, like when I was younger, I felt like I didn't have to do too much studying or anything to kind of like just get me through. So, you know, I was like, okay, if I got a B, I got a B. I could get an A if I wanted to, but I'm like, I don't want to because I want to play Call of Duty instead.
I was gonna, what, like that was your ultimate goal.
Yeah.
You know, not to get an A.
I was just like, and then, you know, I was kind of lucky because it's like, I did have that kind of natural smartness about myself without sounding cocky or anything, which allowed me to kind of spend more time on COD.
No, that's cool because I know like when we were growing up, right? Like at least my parents, I would game for like hours and hours. My parents would be like, "What are you doing?" Like they took my PlayStation away. You remember that? Like, I've been on playing games with you. All of a sudden, like
disconnect.
I'm just gone.
I'm like, bro, what happened?
Yeah, we're in a round 11, gone. No, yeah, like you said, growing up now though, I understand where the parents are coming from.
Yeah.
Now you know it's again like me personally, like I was never trying to be a pro player or anything. I was just playing games just because all my friends were. But I remember showing my parents, like, look at these guys, like, they're professional players. And I remember my dad talking to me and saying, like, is this what you want to do? Like, this is, like, the top 1% of people in the world that are doing this. And I remember, like, in my head, like, they're not that good. I can do it. But obviously, like, I never approached it or even tried. But, yeah, now, like, looking back, I'm like, yeah, there's no shot I would have had a chance.
You were watching, like, what was like Nate Shot and Scump and all those guys. Yeah.
Playing MW3, I'm like, I'm better than them.
Yeah. No, it's like we were talking about, like you were saying earlier, we're playing like What of War. You think how good you were back then, but now when you look at it, hindsight, you're probably like, Jesus Christ, that was probably awful.
Yeah.
You know, playing on this like 50-inch flat screen TV, just like sitting down, looking up.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah, I mean, it's different too because, I mean, we're not that much different in age. You're a couple years older than us. We're 24, 25. If you're surprised by that or not.
No. I mean, I'm 28. I'm getting on.
But when we were, I mean, you felt it too. I mean, we would just, there was I don't know what the word is, but kind of like a weird aura around gaming at the time. You know, it wasn't as accepted as it is now where, like, I mean, you have these kids who are coming into this facility, right? And they're, 12 years old, 11 years old with their parents. And I'm like, that's so sick. It's so cool to see, like, mom and dad that are here and like, hey, you want to go play games? Because I'd be sitting down playing my games and my mom and dad be walking by just like shaking their head like, I'm over here just looking like a psychopath playing COD and playing these racing games and stuff. It's very different now. I think it's why you're seeing such a shift with a lot of young people coming into gaming. Yeah,
I think as well, like, the parents are more accepting of it because they realize, like, how much gaming can, like, obviously games fun and entertainment, but there's a lot of, like, educational ways you could go about gaming, like communication with your son or your daughter, like having that bond, which probably really didn't happen back in the day. It was like not many times you'd, like, myself included, it's like, okay, I play games casually, like, now and again with my dad, but I wasn't like what it is today. I think, like, the social norms and, like you said, they're definitely more accepting these days. Where instead of, like, parents trying to fight their kids, it's kind of like, okay, my kid wants to play a game, let's play a game together, let's have this as a actual time spent together, as opposed to probably back when we were doing stuff, it'd be like sports, hey, let's go play catch. It's physical activity, help you motor skills, their skills, but now it's very different. It's kind of like, okay, communication skills, hey, what do I need to do? So yeah, it is, as you grow older, you're, like, learning and knowing all these different things, which is interesting.
It's really cool to see now, like, again, we feel like we're old, in it, because there's these people who come up and they think that we're old, being like, which I
want to point out, I think it's wild that I'm 24, you're about to turn 25, right? and we're called like dinosaurs in the scene.
I think that's crazy.
I'm
bro.
like, man, I still feel you're 28. That's not old at all. And you know,
thank you.
dude, trust me, that's not old at all.
Bro, if you were 65, we'd be saying something.
Yeah.
Dog.
Well, we were at the LAN yesterday that the Boston Breach held. Shout out to them.
Yep.
And, you know, all these kids are like, how old are you? Like 19, 20, 21. And one of our buddies, he's 20, 22?
Yeah, he's 22.
He was like, yeah, these guys are old. I'm like, dude, you're 22.
Yeah.
You're getting up there if you're calling us old.
Yeah.
Like, man. But I want to say, though, like these younger kids, they do have to put some respect on like the older guys. Because we do have the experience in COD.
Well, you know, that's something I think that happens too as you get older. You definitely, like we were saying, you just get better and better. And I think like your thought and the way you think of the game gets better as you get older. You know, I mean, we're not talk too much about it right now. We'll save for later. Like the CDL, you always notice that like older players, they tend to be more of like the strategy people.
Yep.
You know, because they have that experience. They've been doing it for, you know, decades.
Yep.
And they just, you know, they have that time that the younger guys, they don't have that.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah, because, I mean, I know when I was a kid, and same with you, all it was just go.
Yeah.
And get a couple kills, and you're good.
Yeah.
But nowadays, you know, I feel like a lot of the older guys, like, we think a lot more about, okay, maybe we shouldn't push this certain angle. Maybe we should hold this position instead. And, you know, with this podcast, Mike and I, we give, like, some tips every now and then.
Ooh.
Just
Just about
little nuggets of
just
wisdom.
nugget,
you
yeah,
know?
right?
Little sprinkling.
I'm like really big on positioning
Yeah.
in COD because I think that's how you win the game for the most part, like winning gunfights. Because when you're ranked, at least for the most part, everybody can shoot straight.
Yeah.
But to win a game, in my opinion, it's all positioning and winning your single gunfights.
Yep. I like that you say that because I used to be a big positioning player.
Mhm.
Like, if you can make yourself be in positions where you have a 70-30 gunfight, it's like, why would you not take your percentages? I'm a lot about percentages. Like, okay, this percentage play is probably going to work the most. I even say to the guys, I'm like, hey, if you have a 1% chance of winning a play, and if you can do something different, you can have now a 2% chance of winning a play. You've doubled your odds.
Right.
Which in any facet of chances or life or anything, like if you can double your odds of like something good coming out of something, you would take it 100% of the time.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And I me personally, I definitely noticed that when you were a player on Reciprocity. That's when I started to really, really follow like competitive COD. I watched like every single match, every single weekend. That team, by the way, that content house was like gold. Yeah, I love the content from that house. But Mike and I, like, we're huge fans of Black Ops 4. I don't know how you feel about the game. From a viewer, it was amazing. It was great watching you guys play, and like there were so many insane like highlights. Like, how did you feel at the time playing that game? Because I know a lot of people in the competitive scene didn't enjoy it because it wasn't fair, I guess. But yeah, like, what are your thoughts like at that time?
Yeah, I mean, Black Ops 4, I was a big fan of Black Ops 4. Obviously, throughout the Reciprocity, there was a time where I was on the bench and then I came back in. And then I got to play alongside Dylan Codd, Zach, Alex, and Brad Wiskin. And maybe I like it because we were good at it. And like our team cohesion and like chemistry was just like off the charts. I feel like having people you like playing with and whatnot, it's always makes the game more fun. You're not frustrated because something happened, but like I liked it. Obviously you have to come up against Simp and Abizi when I had an ICR and they had a sword. It was always frustrating, I'm not gonna lie.
To tell the tale.
Like you see that on your screen and you're like, I'm bracing for this gunfight right here. Like I know he's probably gonna kill me, but I just you just have to take it. But yeah, I mean I liked it. There wasn't too much that we were ever like annoyed about or like frustrated about too much. Because it's like I mean, the motto these days is you can do it too. So,
Yep.
yeah, it was just like we have one of the best guys, and specialist wise. I mean, I guess that's like we'll have the turning points, but it is give and take. Like we would have specialists that we would be using that would just turn the game on its head, and you're like, holy shit, this comeback's like real. I don't know if you both remember the series against Luminosity and Dylan Codd got like 20 kills in like 2.5 minutes. Yeah, that was like insane. Only he could do it on that game, and maybe Simp, I guess. It's pretty good. But yeah, I like the game. I guess like some things personally was like I wasn't a big fan of crack aiming.
Yep.
My fingers start.
Yeah.
And for people
you're talking to the king of crack aiming over here.
Yeah. For
I
people
watch
that,
you all day over here. Just so
No, the people that didn't play Black Ops 4 are like, you know what crack aiming is on the Maddox. For me at least, it's L1, and I would just aim it in and out, and your shots would just shoot perfectly straight.
Yeah.
Lasers.
Yeah. And I mean, that was the time. I love Black Ops 4. I've put in so many hours, like days into that game.
No, I remember.
Days.
I remember with Black Ops 4, I had skipped that year. So this was when we were in college. We were in college, and we went to different schools. And then I had stopped playing COD. Right? I think that was I skipped that year.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, I didn't play that year, and then I came back for Modern Warfare. And
I think it was because it looked the same as BO3.
That's
boots on the ground.
You're quoting me. That's literally what I had said. I was like, it looks basically like BO3, and I loved BO3. Don't get me wrong, but I was like, it's college. $60 is like $1 million. I'm like, I don't know. I'm gonna hold off. And then MW came out. So then we switched to BO4. And he was like, bro, Black Ops 4 is where it's at. Really, really good game. And went ham on that game. I went from level 1 and just like we probably got 20, 30 days on that game.
Yeah.
Easily.
Yeah. And
everything about that game, the maps, the guns,
Yeah. And that game had like 1,000 levels too in pubs, and I got all the way to level 1,000 in that, just prestiging 10 times, and then I was just grinding that game. I loved that game. And then I was really sad that the competitive season was over because I didn't get to watch you guys play anymore. But no, I just want to hear your perspective on it, just because it's interesting to see, because a lot of pro players from what we've seen on Twitter and stuff, they hate that game. A lot of casual players too hate that game. So
yeah, I mean, I don't like. I mean, at the time while you're competing, there's always like little things that irritate you. But then like you look back and you're like, I mean, every time a new COD comes out, there's always something that's like you have to like overcome, or like there's a hurdle. But I mean, like I look back, like the maps were good, the team was good. Like I thought we were like a top 3 team. So it's like,
if you're winning, the game is amazing.
Exactly.
If you're losing, it's not you, it's the game.
Exactly.
That's the problem.
Yeah, you summed it up perfectly.
Yeah. Well, I was going to ask you too, though, because we come from like, again, on the casual side of how we think about the game and things that we like and don't like. You at this time, like obviously you're a pro player. You don't think about the game the same way that we do. Are you able to kind of think about the differences when you were playing, coming up, thinking about Call of Duty compared to when you started playing professionally in the CWL, into the CDL? Like, did you think about the game in a much different way?
Not really. Like, cause I've always played like the competitive. Like, we had like very bare bones. Like coming up, we used to base our like rules based off like pro mod, COD 4 pro mod. So that was like 2 SMGs, 2 ARs, and a scope at all times. So at least that was like the Australian way of doing things. So yeah, we had like bare bones rule sets. It was just like your gun, your flash, go out and kind of just see who the better person is with like not variables affecting gameplay. And these days you have 105 attachments just for one attachment. Like the pro players are like losing their heads over like, oh, this guy's got F-tac muzzle, this guy's got the F-tac compensator. Like, I don't know which one to go for and whatnot.
Right.
So I kind of liked a lot of, I'd say like standard basic, But then I know from like the outside looking in, they want more variability. It's like, oh, why do competitive people only use 2 guns? I just think when you come to the point where you're like in the top 0.001%, it's like you will find out every exploit possible, every like gun, like how the gun feels. Like there's COD's always had like stats released about the gun, and it's like, okay, this objectively is the best gun, but majority of the time it's like it doesn't feel like the best gun. Like subjectively, it's like this feels much better than XYZ.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I've had like pretty much the same mentality through my years of like growing through CDL, but now I'm on the general manager side. I actually also look a lot towards like the audience and the fans, and like what kind of excites me, because this is now a product that we're trying to sell to more people.
Right.
Like how can we make this exciting? Like the pros like pretty much got bullied about snipers being in the game. They said, oh, the snipers got GA'd, and then Twitter went wild, and then the snipers were back in, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Which we talked about before. People don't know it. GA is like a gentleman's agreement.
Yeah.
So they're all rules that the pro players, this is not like, would you agree? It's not like announced by the CDL as to what these are. This is all on Twitter. Yeah, where you tend to find out about, like us, you'd find out about this as to what the pro players be like, hey, we're going to have this in the game and this not in the game, because to make the game more balanced, right?
Yeah, it's because the feedback and the turnaround from the developers isn't as quick as we'd hope it to be. So in the meantime, we have a band-aid solution of gentleman's agreement. And the developer also takes a lot of public data that sometimes doesn't reflect the competitive outlook. And
yeah, no, definitely, because when Mike and I were loading into ranked, these GAs, we follow
West out there.
we like to compete competitively, like in ranked and stuff, so, right? It's ranked, and we follow the GAs, right? Because I feel like if you follow competitive, you have to just follow them. Yeah. But then you load into ranked, and people are still using the M4.
M4 galore.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. And, there are a bunch of other weapons that you can still pick that the pros don't use.
Yeah.
And in my head, Mike knows, is my biggest pet peeve. I hate playing against other players when I know I'm at a disadvantage at all times.
Yep.
So, when I'm getting beaned by an M4, I'm like, I can't stick with this attack.
50. Yeah, it's not fair.
Yeah. Yeah. And I wish the developers were able to somehow communicate with the CDL and like the pros more and get these GAs into the game. Like just those, like the M4, for example. You shouldn't even be able to click on it and choose it. But that's what makes COD like super interesting, right? Like we're still so young into the scene. And I know there's been a bunch of problems with the developers and like pro players and stuff. If you guys don't know, like it's all over Twitter. Like I feel like there's always drama on Twitter all the time. That's how everybody knows.
Yeah.
But like, you don't need to go too much into it. But what's a relationship like between, I guess the pro players and the CDL talking to the developer like Activision?
Yeah, I mean, there is a play relations person at the helm of Activision, and they talk to the players constantly, and there's like a rep chat, and the players are like, hey, we want to put this forward, and this is getting GA'd and whatnot. And then they obviously take their concerns, whatnot, to the developer, and then the developer says, okay, well, what's your solution to it, kind of thing. And then there's just other aspects where it just takes, like, they take the idea on board, but they have to have, like, their business is like, okay, well, we need to know what our patch for this 1st of February is going to be. Yep. We need to know that by the 1st of December. Yeah. So it's like a 2-month turnaround. And it's like, okay, well, because we can't do that, then it's like, okay, now it's just a waiting game. And then when we want something GA, we pretty much GA something within a week. And then the developer's probably like, yep, okay, that's going to take us 2-3 months. And then behind the scenes, there's a lot of expectations, I guess, for the league, and then the CDL league also then has to communicate with Activision Blizzard and developer, and they are getting better, like even allowing us to create our own blueprints and our own camos, and actually getting them into the store. There are deadlines that come through, but from like a gameplay point of view, it's also difficult because I guess like blueprints and camos are like money makers for Activision, so that's definitely on the priority list of a business much higher than let's make sure they can't select them for like they're like dollar signs. But yeah, I'm hoping over time that kind of the kinks kind of like unfold. But yeah, it's a work in progress. But yeah.
Yeah, no, I would totally agree, because I know you and I have had this conversation many times about, we've been playing COD for over a decade, and I get where the pro players are coming from about this shouldn't even be in the game, the stuff's broken, but then me, like, I work in finance, but I work with a lot on the tech side, tech team, so I understand those, like, turnaround times, and trust me, like, I get super annoyed, too. I'm like, why can't we get this fixed faster? But then I see the amount of work that it actually takes to put into it. I'm like, okay, I need to take a step back and realize, this takes a while. And even if the fix is pretty quick, there's like upper management that has to go through all these approvals. Then it's finally in the game. I know we've said that on Twitter a few times, and we got destroyed. By
they don't like the voice of reason.
It's always very one-sided.
You can't have that on Twitter. But no, I mean, you're right. It's a business, and they've got their priorities, and you'd hope that it could be something that could be fixed within 24, 48 hours, but that's just not reality. But I was gonna follow up with that, like the whole process of GAs and whatnot. I mean, we'll go back to this in a little bit, but you're playing in the CWL, then turns into CDL, and you end up going into this general manager role. Has your thought on GAs and like the whole process, has it changed like since you become from going a player to now being in this role? Do you think about it differently or manage the players, how they talk about it? You're like a bit more level-headed about it?
Yeah, I think as a player, it was kind of there's a lot of bias in GAs. Some people, just the way teams are formed, and even I, like as a general manager, I'm like, if my team has got the best SMGs in the game, I want to nerf their ARs. Let's get rid of the M4.
Right.
But that's so much bias in that in itself. It's like, okay, why are the players kind of being able to dictate what's most beneficial and advantageous for themselves and for the team? Which is why it's like, as a general manager, I was like I'm also very selfish as a general manager. Like, what works best for my team, I also want to happen. But then I've also got the competitive aspect and the business aspect. It's like, okay, if this is an exciting game, then people will be able to come to, like, people want to watch it. Sweet, now we can market for our watch party, get the team involved to meet these guys. But if it's just a bland, boring game, then it's like we're just losing our marketable audience, right?
Right.
So yeah, I'm a selfish general manager in terms of I want the best for my team, which is also biased. But I also see the bigger picture, like with the snipers being G8 and then they come back in. I'm like, but I'm also got to have logic. There's no smokes in the game, so a smoker's intended use is to block out a sniper's line of sight.
Right.
So when smokes were G8, I was like, snipers, technically speaking, on a logical scale, should be going as well. But then, yeah, you get some fight from the public audience, and I think Nature addressed it like, oh, that's like an exciting moment, and people want to watch stuff like that. Which he is right, and I can see that point of view as well. But as a player, I'd also be frustrated if I got sniped every single time.
Right.
And be like, what's the counterplay? I can't counter simp sniping me.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just I'm hoping
been
at this
there.
point. Right. Yeah.
Well, I was gonna say, that's probably a big benefit to you being a former professional player is your input. That it's not like this is something like a total foreign concept to you. You've been in the trenches.
Yep.
You're like, this won't work.
Yep.
So that must make like the relationship with your players a bit easier too, because they're not pulling their hair out, being like, you don't get it.
Yeah.
Like with your mom and dad, you don't get it.
Yeah, no, it's definitely I can definitely relate with the players and understand like the players' emotions and feelings. So that does help kind of send my message and like translate my message in a better way, where it's like, okay, we're actually in this together, and I feel you on this, but at the end of the day, you guys, you're gonna have to put up with some things that you may not like and just adapt and do the best you can, kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah. And like going off that too, like, hey, can you explain like what your day to day is for the most part as like a general manager of like an esports team? Because I know I'm curious, you're curious. Like a lot of people listening too. Like, what does a general manager do for like an esports team? Because general managers for I guess regular sports, some teams they control like a lot of the roster. They have a lot of say on the roster. Just wanted more like insight on that.
Well, with that too, I want to you can add on to it is what Justin's saying, but then also how'd you even get into with the Boston Breach? Were you pursuing a general manager role once you had retired? What year did you retire in the CDL? Was it? Do you remember?
In Cold War.
Yeah, it was in Cold
Yep.
War. So when you retired, were you immediately like, okay, I want to be a general manager? Like, what did that look like? And then leading into Justin's question.
Yeah, I guess so. I was playing with Zach in Cold War, and he got a call up for London, and I said, okay, if I'm not playing with Zach and we have to look for one, I'm just gonna like
Zach is Zed.
Zed, yes,
Yeah. So
yep.
people who are listening, they know Zed.
Yeah. And I was like, I'm not going to play anymore. I'm going to try my hand at coaching. So I started coaching people like Tom Gravity, Saints, Spart, the New York Subliners Academy, essentially at the time, Pro Loot, who now plays for Vegas Legion. And then I started to coach a West Star team, and that was Tom Gravity, Venom, who played for LA Thieves.
Yeah.
And yeah, just
Paul X was on that team too, wasn't he?
he was on that team for a couple of days, and then he got the call up. So,
Okay.
but yeah, so I started coaching them, and I actually like coaching challenges a lot because I kind of was like, I'm not going to be playing, but there's gaps in the market for coaching. And as bad as it sounds, I was like hoping for some downfall of some teams so they could get rid of their coaching staff, and maybe I could like
Yeah.
be like, hey, like I'm available. But then Zed at the time, he got dropped from London, and then they asked him to come back, and he said, no, like I'm moving houses, like I bought a house, I've like got other priorities, like I can't go back to Charlotte. And then I was like, we connected again on the potential to join Oxygen Esports and make them a Call of Duty team. And it so happened that Oxygen Esports was the team that was getting the 12th spot in the CDL with Boston Breach. And we found this out about mid-November. And I kind of connected the dots because Adam Morrison, one of my bosses, he pretty much put us on with a call, and I was like, okay, like, he said, oh, I've got like something exciting, but I can't share any details. So I did my due diligence. I was going on LinkedIn, okay, Oxygen, okay, this, okay, who else is there?
Right.
And I was like, you know that guy that's like, that meme where he's like, got the ball.
It's always sunny meme, yeah.
Yeah.
With the guys connecting all dots.
Yeah,
and shit.
that was me.
Yeah.
I was like, Zach, I was like, I think they're 12th franchise. Like, this is after Washington pulled out. I was like, they got to be the 12th franchise. Like, New England makes sense. Like, yeah. And then they're like, so what are you looking for? I was like, well, I'd be head coach, and Zach would be my assistant coach. And they asked, like, how about general manager? I was like, sure, like, okay. I'm sure I can. Yeah. I'm sure I can form a roster and like
could generally manage.
Yeah, like well, but yeah, I mean, I feel like I just have like a lot of just like street smart skills. so it's kind of like common sense with a lot of the general manager stuff. But yeah, forming the roster. At the time in the first year, I was pretty much also co-coaching alongside Zach or Zed, just because I was coaching the year before, so I still wanted to like make sure that like the groundwork and the roots that we kind of were laying were the right thing. Trying to create a culture and a foundation where it's like, okay, this is the expectation of Boston Breach. So I had a lot of hand in the coaching of the first season. I guess my day to day now is a little different. I kind of have every second day I try to like get the head coaches and the assistant coach, Josh, I'd kind of talk about like what strategies we're doing for scrims this week, what do we need to tackle, who's been playing bad, who's been playing good, what are we looking good at. It's a lot of competitive aspects I try and like oversee. I'm pretty much in the room with the guys from 12:30 to like 7 every day. And before then, I'm kind of working alongside the director of content, partnerships, marketing, and just kind of giving everyone direction on what I feel is a good fit. And, you know, we go back and forth. So with the director of content, talking about the Docuseries, how we're going to go about it, what looks good, what do we need to improve on, and trying to get that kind of motion going. And then, yeah, just any competitive aspect in terms of rosters, like, do we switch roles? Like, how do we communicate this message to our fans and our audience? Like, I think having them know what's going on, obviously not to know everything that goes behind closed doors, but like a pretty good picture of like the team. I think that's pretty important, and I always try and make whatever's happening out behind those closed doors as transparent as possible. Because I think the fans deserve to know. I mean, they're invested in the team and they want to know what's going on. So yeah, day to days, yeah, pretty much a lot of things, I guess. You kind of get pulled in different directions.
Ways. Yeah, because you know, it's super interesting to me that you know, you're 28 years old and like I guess your official title is a general manager of the Boston Breach. And in like traditional sports, you know, people that follow like GMs are super old dudes.
Yeah.
Right, making all these changes and stuff. But COD, like I just want to like iterate, like it's such a young scene still, even though, you know, you've been playing for like what, almost over a decade, like competitively. And you know, we've played COD for so long, but now that the CDL is an actual franchise, and you know, it's our third year.
Yeah.
So third year of the CDL?
This is
fourth. Well, we had MW,
year?
Cold War, Vanguard, and
okay.
MW2.
So yeah, fourth year. And it's only been 4 years.
Yeah.
You know, and I just see like a very, very bright future of the CDL. And it's just super interesting to see like all these general managers, everyone's like around your age for the most part. Or like, you know, a former pro player. And like, I think you have like a really good edge just because you are a former player. So, you know, the players they should respect you as a GM regardless, in my opinion. But I think that helps like a lot.
Yeah. I mean, I think like even in the off season is a weird time for a general manager because you're making roster moves and you're talking about contracts and I'm a former player myself. I'm like, I'd want to see this and this and having to compare metrics, then having to like get the guys' apartments and whatnot. There's a lot of like financial decisions you kind of have to make with the budget you're given. But yeah, I think it does make it easier to have those conversations, you know, especially like contract negotiations with these players. Cause like, hey, I was like in your same shoes. Like I understand like what you want and like trying to like navigate that. And then on the competitive like day to day, it's like, I know when I was a player, I would get frustrated in practice and whatnot. So I can understand that, but like I'm also there to be like, you can't let it get the best of you as well. So trying to like have methods where we can channel the frustration or the annoyance or the anger through practice, and how do we get the most out of that, and how do we communicate that to the players, and even myself, how do I communicate to the coaches? Like, are the coaches doing a good enough job? Can I help them in some way? How can I help the players in any possible way? And just trying to be their friend, but also have that line of that boundary, I guess, to show them like we're also in the performance industry, and we need to be doing the best we possibly can be doing with the resources we have.
Yeah, and I mean, I think Boston's been doing a fantastic job at that. And like,
Okay.
well, Mike and I
man, no, not a hot take here. I think like Boston coming in as like what they're their newest franchise, right? Has done a lot more than a lot of these teams have in the 4 years that they've been given. You know, I mean, we were talking just before we started the podcast, you know, like the Docuseries, you know, I love that a lot of teams are doing this because like you said, you know, we're invested in these teams. You know, I mean, prior to Boston, we were, you know, big Optic fans, and we're still Optic fans, you know, but only when they're not playing Boston, and we hope they get shit on. You know, but it's really cool to just see, you know, the inside moves and how it's happening. You know, like why did they pick up certain players? Why did they drop certain players? You know, what's the thought process of like trying to make these, like, why are they awful one week and then like you see all the improvements over the weeks? You know, what does that look like? You know, it's really, really cool to see that in content.
You know, it's so normal for me, but then even like when I was watching back Docuseries, I was like, I know what was happening in this moment, and then like the highs and the lows. You know, even that major one where it's like Joe or Awakening was sick, I was like reliving that moment. I had like all the stress on my shoulders, but also I was like relieved because I was like, now there's no expectation, like and this is like kind of what Ben or Beans. This is kind of like the moment he's been living for to get his chance, and
this is a win-win.
And I was like, I'm feeling good. Like I'm happy that he gets to showcase, because once again, like he's been playing amazing in challenges, and I don't know, it's just moments like that where it's like, okay, like I'm glad that everyone else kind of gets to see what, like the feelings and the body language and the frustrations and the lighthearted sighs and the moans and whatnot. Like, I don't know, it's still kind of it's all kind of surreal, so to say. And we're even like for our next docuseries trying to get more of those emotions and more of the day to day and more of the defeats and the victories, and really like these guys go through a lot, and like the expectation from Boston's like, I have expectations that are very high. We set our standards high.
You have to.
Yeah. And
but
especially representing like a city like Boston. You know,
if your expectation isn't like we're gonna win champs, it's like, I think with any team, it's like, what are you doing here? You know? It's like that should be the ultimate goal. You know.
Yeah, no, I fully agree with that. I was like, if you're thinking of anything else,
we're gonna try to get top 5. It's like, bro.
Well, what's the goal here?
Yeah, exactly. No, I mean 100%. You know, I think that's why a lot of players and even just people that watch it, they like to go to some of these teams that have that kind of culture built around them. You know, like Boston Breach now, Thieves have that, Optic has that. I'm trying to think who else. I know FaZe, they started some sort of series.
Yeah, the Subliners do too.
Yeah, Subline as well. Just because it shows for us, like, these are normal ass people.
Yeah,
you know?
they're human.
Yeah. You know, like these guys, it's like they go out and they do things. You know, they're not just, it's like, you know, they're not like just robots who play.
Yeah.
And then like when they lose, they're like, well, that's unfortunate. You know? It's like, you know, there's a lot of the trials and tribulations of being on a team.
Exactly.
You know? Especially like compared to traditional sports, is what, you know, you can have 20 people on a team. You know, COD is just 4 people.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So it's way more personal.
100%.
You know.
Yeah, and on top of that, in traditional sports too, you don't know like the you know, the drama, I guess, that's happening. You know, all those emotions and feelings, like if someone gets sick.
Yeah.
right? And if that happened in baseball or whatever, they wouldn't really announce anything.
Yeah.
Guys just not playing
There's
anymore.
no Red Sox docuseries.
Yeah. At least Boston. I just want to give props to you guys. It's second year, and we already have a major. And Mike and I, right, when we started the podcast, we were like, man, we want a Boston team. This place just makes sense. The culture around sports around here, it just makes sense to have a team around here.
Yeah.
And when we found out that Boston Breach was becoming a thing, we just couldn't believe it.
Dude,
we manifested that for a year, and it happened.
First we were bummed that it was going to be Washington.
Yeah.
No disrespect,
Yeah.
but we were like, dude, we're going to have to wait again for
Mm-hmm.
it. And then thankfully that fell through, and then it turned into Boston. We're like, let's go.
Yeah. And Boston's throwing these LAN events, so they're doing watch parties now, and I think a lot of teams need to start implementing that just to get it the gaming scene out there. Because even though the gaming scene is really big, I think a lot of people are only thinking about just the gaming scene in general. They're not thinking about our buddies, our whole friend group. We're the only ones that play video games.
Yeah.
No one else plays video games. And we're like, yeah, we're going to this COD major. They're like, what the heck is that? And we try to implement stuff and let them know this is what COD is. This is a CDL, things like that. I think that's a market that we have to capture.
Yeah.
And I just think sometimes in the gaming scene, a lot of people think a little too close-minded about let's just capture gaming people.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, no, I mean, I look at our team and I know the amount of support that I get as a general manager, and just in general, we have an all hands every Tuesday and whatnot, and there's 10 people up in that room, but everyone's going at 1,000 miles per hour to you got the major, you got the watch party, you got the Helix LAN that was yesterday. It's everything's happening, and it's investing and making sure that we're bringing the people that's to these events and whatnot. Just, I don't know, just the kind of growth and the vision is pretty crazy, and you kind of have to go all in. But yeah, it is interesting trying to, like you said, you got friends, and by the way, have you convinced them to come to the major?
Well, one of our friends,
Yeah.
he did buy a single day ticket.
Which friend? One that we're thinking of?
Yeah, our
Yeah, we can't
closest
say
one. Our
his name.
closest one.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah, he's coming. I think it's Saturday or Sunday. I told him Sunday because it's
That's the
championship
day.
Sunday.
Yeah. Yeah, we
But
gotta do some convincing though, because when we introduced it to him, he was a immediate Toronto Ultra fan.
No.
For whatever reason.
Why?
It was
I don't know. He just latched on for whatever reason. He loved Insight.
Yeah.
What is an ultra?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Enough said.
Yeah.
So we got to get him on the Boston train. Be like, dude.
Yeah. Well, the other thing too is we haven't really told any of our friends that we've been doing
we
this
do
podcast.
this. Yeah.
Okay.
We just what our really close friend that we're talking about, we've only told him.
Yeah.
And I don't know why we haven't told them. I think it's just because we're just in our own little realm here doing the podcast. But no, yeah, I think it's going to be great when Boston hosts this major, because in New York at least, right? That was our first ever major, and we woke up at 6 a.m., lined up at the door at 8, just waiting there, and a bunch of locals, they would just walk by and they're like, "What are you guys doing? What is this?" And I know for sure that in Boston, when people are lining up in front of the MGM, everyone's going to be like, "What's happening here?
Yeah.
Yeah,
What is
yeah.
this? What are all these guys and girls
It's
just
going to
standing
be
out?"
about 90% of people with Carhartt jackets and Dunkin' Donuts.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
beat up Red
Yeah.
Sox hats, being like, "The fuck is this?"
Yeah.
No, that's going to be the exciting moment, because that's what we've been thinking about, just with the CDL, and what we hope over the next 5 to 10 years is just trying to rope in all these people, that maybe they play games, but they don't know anything about competitive gaming.
Yeah.
So I was going to ask you about that. I mean, you're in the scene. What do you think? 5 to 10 years, what are your hopes and goals with the CDL? Where do you see it being?
Well, I that's a good question. First of all, I'm a big fan of League of Legends. I don't know if you guys are big fans of League of Legends, but anyway, they sell out stadiums.
Yeah.
And at the moment, like, some of the COD events are like putting, like, 5,000 seat capacities and whatnot. I mean, in 5 or 10 years, I'm hoping that Call of Duty's like, you can sell out 50,000 stadium seats, right?
Yeah.
And
Guys
then-
play in Gillette.
yeah, literally, it's like we're not playing at the Helix, we're playing next door,
Yeah.
Gillette Stadium, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, that's the overall goal, is to just make, in my opinion, like, especially for Boston, to make it just a common place and a common theme. Like, we come into this facility pretty much every day of the week, and to see people coming in and like just having those relationships with people as well, getting to know just other gamers as well. It's like you just bring a whole diverse experience kind of with every single person. So I mean, I guess that's the ultimate goal, is to kind of have it as big as your traditional sports. Obviously, obviously you can't have it like exactly like traditional sports, but there's so much opportunity for, like you said, there's no like Red Sox docuseries, or like, you can't get behind, like, know the person or those problems and whatnot. But in today's age with gaming and whatnot and social media, it's like, look, you only have to look for like a pro player's likes to see if things are going tough or if things are going all good, right?
Right.
So just, really expanding and just having as big as possible. I mean, I'm sure some of these franchises and whatnot, they will definitely, put themselves on the stock exchange in 10 years' time, kind of like FaZe have kind of done theirs. But as we know, it's very early. And all these franchises and esports organizations in general, they kind of need to be very smart and actually do it properly, as opposed to just throwing money. Because once you start throwing money away willy-nilly, it just becomes like there's no like meaning behind it, I think. So yeah, I guess having a crowd full, I think that would be amazing. Like, as a player walking out into like a stadium, like Faker does for T1 and like League of Legends, like, with like millions of people watching worldwide, like that in itself, like that'd be amazing.
Do you miss it? Competing?
Yeah, everyone misses competing. Like that adrenaline rush you get, like those little butterflies that you get, and then you get in the crowd and you get 2 kills and the crowd like roars and whatnot. You're like, I got to chow for the third now.
How's that feeling? What major was it? The first ever CDL major. It was live before COVID happened. It was
in London, or the Atlanta one.
It might have been Atlanta. Like, you were still playing on Legion.
Yep.
And what was that feeling like, walking through the crowd and just like fist bumping everyone? Because like you're a musician, like you've been on stage before, like as an adult, like you don't get people like applauding you that often, and like you felt that at least. Like, I don't know what that feeling was like. And I want to know, like, how crazy is that? Just walking through, everybody's just like cheering you on, you're fist bumping everyone, but you also have to be locked in because you're about to go to war, like with your teammates. Yeah,
it's I don't even know if I can describe the feeling. It's just like you have people like you've just never seen before, just like going crazy, and it's just like, like I don't know. You just honestly, it is a confidence booster for sure.
Ego.
Yeah. But then you can't let it get like your head can't grow too big while you're walking down that aisle. Otherwise, you'll pay for it in the game. But I don't know. It's just a good feeling, really.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone's complaining about people cheering for you, right?
Yeah. And like, when Boston walks out on stage, I know like now they, show their intro video and everything. I mean, I think it'd be insane if Boston came out to, I'm sure you guys have something like special for when you guys walk out for the major. But the way I think about it is like WWE.
Can't confirm or deny.
Yeah. Like WWE.
If you watch the YouTube though, you would.
Yeah, you'd know.
You know.
Yeah.
Like WWE superstars, when they're walking down the ramp, and it's just millions of people just cheering for them.
Yeah.
Is there like theme song going on.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just can't even imagine that feeling. That has to be one of the best feelings in the world.
Yeah. I mean, I know in Champs last year, it was round 11 versus LA Thieves on Tuscan. And I was backstage while the guys are playing because we have like little dugout booths. And anyway, the crowd is like, let's go Boston. And then there would be a let's go Thieves. And it was just going like left and right, like back and forth. And if I was a player, you literally can feel the vibrations and you can feel the like stage shake. Like how much people were cheering on. Like in that moment as well, like I don't know, like round 11, definitely nervous. But like, yeah, I mean, just the crowd in general makes events really, like the atmosphere is electric. I don't know if you guys have been to MGM.
I've been to the MGM.
You have?
Once. Yes. Yeah.
I have not.
You have not?
No.
Okay. Well, from what I did a little walkthrough and like the way the seating is and like the amount of people that have already bought tickets, like I could definitely feel we could go deaf in that.
It's going to be loud.
Yeah, it's going to be so loud.
The MGM is it's new too. So the way that they designed it, like all the noise just funnels straight to the stage. And like I'm super excited for this event. Like I can't even explain to you like how excited.
Yeah, I mean, we're always out there promoting it on our Twitter at COD Casuals.
Yeah.
Always, man, like go buy the tickets, go buy them, you know? Because again, if you're in the New England area, you never experienced something like it, it's the place to do it. It's the time to do it. You know?
Yeah. I think I'm looking forward to it the most because as it's a Boston home major, it's like the fifth player on our team is the crowd, and I think that's really
I like that.
Yeah.
It's really gonna G the guys up.
Yeah.
Like they're like there's sometimes where it's like just like a traditional day of sport. Like you can do like the same thing. Like you can wake up, you can have your routine, so you can have your breakfast, you can do like little exercises, but you can still have like a bad day in terms of like kick the football wrong or Tom Brady didn't get whatever the case may be, right? So sometimes the guys aren't as hyped as I'd want them to be, or like, you know, shouting when they get kills. But I know for sure if Zin he comes off the break and just shits on someone,
Yeah.
the crowd's going to go electric, and that's going to make him like play even better. And then the same for Nero, the same for Awakening and Vivid. Like, that's what I'm really looking forward to. So yeah, it's kind of like when Optic, like they always have like a fifth man, like with their crowd, and they're just crazy in there.
Yeah, I never I knew the green wall was big, but you know, going to the first major, like that was crazy.
Oh yeah,
it was so loud.
Well, even for New York, like you're talking about, just the home turf buff that you get from that, you know. I mean, it's just for us too. I'm sure there's a lot of people in the same boat. You know, people are listening, never been, you know. But you watch these guys. You know, we watched them for years and years. You know, and then like we was thinking about like with Scump, obviously he just retired and it's, you know, sucks that we're not going to get to see him again. But to think that we got to see him play, like when he walked out with that whole team, and you know, like when we'd see like the whole team walk out, we're like, holy shit. We're like, that's them. Like, there they are. Yeah. You know? I'm like, and we're just looking at each other like, those guys are so fucking good at COD. They're so good.
Meanwhile, we were getting booed the entire time.
Oh, yeah. People were flipping us off because we had the breach mask. You know? Yeah, we went into enemy territory on that one for sure. But no, it's that experience, though, like, you know, for New York, I don't know if they'd hosted prior to that. I can't remember if they did in any of the other years of COD. I don't think so.
I don't believe so.
No. Yeah. Oh, it's just insane. You know, they're like going through the crowd. I mean, that's just, it's awesome. You see them, you're like right there, you know, and everyone has to cheer for them. It's their major.
Yeah.
You know? So it's gonna be the same thing with Boston. It's like, it doesn't matter who they're playing, they're getting booed.
Yeah.
You know, whoever it is. It's gonna be wild.
Yeah. I'm honestly
super excited for it.
I'm super excited for it. And I'm the general manager. I feel like I'm like, woo.
Like just to wrap everything up, right? Like this, if you guys haven't been to like a COD event or just curious about it, like go to this Boston one, because you know, in traditional sports, Boston fans are like one of the craziest fans ever, and I'm sure, like 100% sure, the Boston fans are going to show up for the breach. and we're like, me and you, we're gonna be front row. We got VIP tickets. We're gonna be front row cheering on, and I know we're gonna be super loud for you guys. And just to like close us out, right? We would want to close out on like some fun questions.
Yeah. Hit me.
So Dunkin's or Starbucks?
Starbucks. Maybe that's
Drink black iced. Is that what you had?
no. This was I usually get a refresher, so I don't really have
refresher,
like
okay.
coffee too often. If I was get like a macchiato.
Mhm.
You a
But
tea guy?
no.
Just nothing.
Yeah, I just like well, yeah. The refresher's just a sweet.
Like nice
Yeah.
fruity drink.
Fruity drink.
Yeah.
That's probably because I've lived in LA, so it's just
Mhm.
that's kind of my go-to. But sometimes I'll double up on a coffee. But yeah, Starbucks.
Waiting for
Starbucks.
him to say game fuel.
Game-
That's the
Oh.
ultimate drink. Is that?
we have like the Mountain Dew energy drinks upstairs. We have the
Yeah.
Celsius
Yeah.
upstairs.
Yeah.
Game fuels.
Mhm.
When I have long days, I get cracked as well.
Yeah.
for sure.
Are there any guys on the team that are just like diehard coffee people, just slamming them?
Methods. He'll have like a nitro cold brew, like for game day.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
High, like vibrating.
Yeah, he's from the East Coast as well, so I mean, he knows Dunkin'.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you'll be. I mean, you've seen like, I get iced coffees and it's like 20 degrees outside.
Yeah.
no shame.
Yeah.
That's the way it is out here,
Yeah.
though, man.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you know, how long you lived in Mass or like in this area generally now? Been a couple.
like a year
Yeah.
plus.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Do you do you enjoy this area?
Yeah, I like the area.
Yeah.
I mean, we're now at like, and
Mhm.
yeah. I mean, I guess the only bad thing is my girlfriend's from LA,
Mhm.
so if I have to go
geez.
see her, it's quite a long plane ride.
Yeah, 6-hour
Right.
flight or something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
yeah.
Which is difficult because I like to be on site and
Mhm.
make sure everything's running as smooth as possible.
Mhm.
But yeah, I like the area.
That's good to know.
I'm sure you
Yes.
love the cold too that we got
Yeah.
right now.
Oh.
Coming from LA and
It's
Australia.
32-degree weather.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, about that. So, I think I mentioned it to you. I was in Australia in Christmas or at Christmas time. So I took all my summer clothes, and I flew straight back to Boston
Mhm.
once I got my visa and whatnot. So, I've literally got layers upon layers because all my winter clothes are in LA,
Yeah.
and I only have my summer clothes on me. So.
Mhm.
I am freezing a little bit in the morning. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But other than that, I don't mind. I don't mind the cold weather. Like you guys, I'll have like a iced coffee.
Yeah.
Even though I should be having a warm hot chocolate with socks that are like
Yeah, fuzzy
Yeah,
socks.
fuzzy socks. Yeah, yeah.
Hey, you fit right in. Do you miss Australia at all? Like
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I miss Australia. It's like Australia's home. Got the family there.
Mhm.
We drive on the right side of the road.
Yeah.
You call college university.
Yeah,
there's a few differences.
Soccer,
You call it
football,
soccer.
football.
Yeah. I was like, oh, there's a football game on tonight. I'm like, what are you guys?
What are you talking about?
Yeah, what do you mean? It's already been played.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I've always wanted to go to Australia. One day I'll end up going, but that flight.
Yeah,
just-
that's the
don't
one thing
wanna
I
do
know
that flight,
about is the
though.
flight right from the U.S. to there is
It's
pretty
long.
pretty heavy.
You just have some sleepy tablets
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
then just
yeah.
knock out for 12 hours and
Yeah.
you'll be fine.
Our
Yeah.
one of our close friends, he studied abroad in Australia, and he did like a semester in like Sydney, I think.
Yep, Sydney.
And like he loved it over there.
Yeah.
I definitely want to go. It looks like a great area.
You never see bad photos of Australia.
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
It's only the
It looks like paradise.
it's only the bugs though. Is that true?
Yeah.
Like the spiders and stuff.
Yeah.
Honestly, not really.
No.
Like, it's definitely gassed for sure on that one.
Okay.
Sounds right.
Yeah.
It's the same in America, like same amount.
Mhm.
I mean, unless
Oh,
you
really?
unless you live like a little further out.
Mhm.
But all the capital cities are on the coast, and
Mhm.
you got the beach nearby. So usually it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, they make it seem sometimes like in Australia that it's like Wild West with
Dude, the
with
spiders.
bugs and
yeah.
whatnot. Yeah,
Yeah.
crawling around and all this. Like, man, I couldn't do that. No thanks.
I mean, I used to live like a little bit out, and they'd be like, well, we call them redbacks. You guys call them, what do you guys call a redback spider? Black
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 Widow
Widows.
spider.
Black
Yeah,
widow.
yeah.
Yeah, we call them redbacks.
Red. Okay.
Yeah. And they're just like, they're common as well. But I used to live in this, I think it was like 8 acres, which is, we don't have it anymore. But, and then I'd like a lot of land, and I scared my mum once shouting snake, snake, snake. And she jumped up on like the car as fast as I've ever seen my mum jump. But there is a real possibility of like more bugs. It's just, but if you're in the city and
You're fine.
Was there a lot of though Australia? Correct me if I'm wrong. Isn't a lot of it not like habited or like have a lot of people there?
yeah,
Like,
there's,
it's not,
there's not many people in Australia for the size it is.
Yeah, 'cause
yeah,
it's huge.
yeah,
But there's a lot of just like wasteland or like dead land that people don't go to.
yeah. It's pretty much, Australia's pretty much the size of America when you think. But like we have 20 million, and America has 300 plus.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that in itself is crazy.
That is crazy. I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
Well, I get like, what do you dislike about like being here compared to Australia? Any dislikes? And likes?
Okay, well, can I switch it and say what I like about Australia, and therefore
Yeah.
I dislike Australian food is so much better than American food,
Ah.
right?
I mean, I
Do
wouldn't-
tell. Do
yeah,
tell.
yeah.
Like American food is like, I feel like they just, I don't know what it is, but they just add so much
Garbage.
garbage into the food, like preservatives and this and that and that. Australian food is
Proud
just
of our obesity here.
so that is one big thing for me. Like Australian Subway, completely different from American Subway. Australian
No
KFC,
shot, really?
well, it's not different, but it's like so much better. Like I could have that all the time.
Subway's
It's
Subway's
fresh.
fire to start here, you know, but
It's
damn.
decent, but like
No, that's what I'm saying though. Like,
Yeah.
bro, we don't know Australian Subway.
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah.
we think US Subways is
Yeah.
Solid.
pretty solid. Yeah. I can only imagine.
Yeah. See, once you go to Australia, it's like you never want to be like, you never want Subway in America because you just like it's just not the same.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You say KFC too is the same thing.
KFC's better. McDonald's, honestly, just
Everything. All
yeah. Maybe I'm biased though, so I don't know.
What about like restaurants and stuff?
Restaurants, okay. In Australia, here's the difference as well. You probably already know. So we don't tip in Australia
yeah.
because we pay.
Yeah, you pay
What they should be
what they
paid?
should be getting paid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't want to get too deep
yeah,
into
yeah,
that,
yeah.
but
Okay, we talked about logic.
um, so, but you don't get free refills, which is a negative
Yeah.
side. But yeah, the food is like even just like meat patties, just everything's grass fed.
Mm-hmm.
I think in America it's not like the same, and then
Nope.
so
We grow our meat.
Dude, if it's grass fed, it's premium.
yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah.
high quality.
We literally make our meat in labs.
Yeah, straight up.
yeah. So like I think the standard of like food is just much higher, therefore tastes better.
Yeah.
That's why Australians are just beautifable.
Yeah.
They just eat the right thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Like-
Everyone's slim. Everyone looks good
Yeah.
there because of that.
What else do I mean, the good thing about America is there's a lot of opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, I wouldn't be able to be a general manager of a Call of Duty team in Australia because the scene is just so small because the population's so small.
Mm-hmm.
What else do I dislike? I don't know.
I was gonna ask you though. What I don't have to go crazy about it. What was that like though when you were like going way back? We were talking about when you were playing in Australia, and then you got the opportunity to go up to the pro league. You're obviously not going to be playing in Australia. You have to go to the U.S. Are you like tripping out? You're freaking out like, oh man, like I gotta go to the U.S. Or was it not a big deal for you?
Not a big deal for me.
Really?
I was like, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Didn't give it too much thought.
Mm-hmm.
Was like, let's see what I can make out of it, and then yeah, obviously COVID hit anyway, so I physically and literally could not get back into Australia anyway because they closed off all the borders they were pretty strict on the borders.
Mm-hmm.
So then yeah, I was now been in America for like 3+ years.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Are a lot of like your close friends and stuff like back home in Australia, or have like a couple moved to North America or anywhere else?
Yeah, a majority of my friends I had in school and uni are still in Australia.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously I've made friends along the way as well in the journey. So there's a couple of them who watched the Boston Bridge games at like 4 o'clock in the morning, 3 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah.
And they messaged me, let's go.
Dude, people in the U.S. we're so privileged.
Yeah.
Like we don't even think about it sometimes.
Yeah.
Like I saw something on Twitter about like players that aren't from North America getting visas and stuff. I can't even imagine that. That must be such a pain in the ass trying to get a visa to come over here and like working all that stuff out, all the legal stuff. And I think a lot of people in North America, like we just don't go out of North America. We don't look at the other like continents and stuff.
Yeah, because most of the things that we want or need are here.
Yeah.
You know.
Not to get too deep into it, but
Yeah, no, I think a lot of foreign players definitely have a few barriers of entry to the professional scene, which is, I mean, I look at Toronto now, like the European squad, and London was the European squad. And even now that's like shifting away in the London camp kind of thing. Although I think next year they might be completely different as well.
The team you're talking about?
Yeah, London. Well, I think they might be rebranded.
Interesting.
CDL Intel.
See, this I have no actual.
Where's your proof?
Yeah, but
COD Casuals
Exclusive
exclusive.
drop right there.
yeah, I mean, there are rumors of them being like fully Spanish.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
Do
There's a lot of killer Spanish players.
yeah. There's one in the league at the moment. Do you guys know?
I'm trying to. I need to go through.
Cue the Jeopardy music right now.
Yeah.
Who is it? There's I don't know.
Oh, is it? I want to sound dumb here.
No, I know that's the thing.
Is it Skies?
No,
No, Spanish play.
Spanish.
Wait, is it Hydra, bro? No.
No, Skies.
I'm kidding.
Skies used to play for the franchise.
Yeah.
Spanish player right now.
Yeah.
Trying to go through them all right now. I couldn't tell you.
On Florida.
Vickle? Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
he is?
Yeah.
Oh, I did not know that.
Oh.
I didn't know he was Spanish at
Yeah.
all.
There we go.
Yeah.
Spanish.
Oh.
I didn't hear him speak though.
Yeah.
Does he have an accent at all? When he talks?
A little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. Did not know
Okay,
that.
there you go.
Learned
The more,
something
the
new.
more you know.
Yeah, the more you know.
The more you know there. And I was gonna ask you too, because we're probably just gonna wrap it up here. Curious, who's your best friend that you've made in the scene?
In the scene.
Yeah, like whether they're
Probably Zed.
Zed, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, which is good, but also provides us difficulty when I'm the general manager and he's the head coach. And if we lose a few games, I'm like, we got to step it up, buddy. So yeah.
No, that's cool. Because, you know, a lot of people say, don't do business with, you know, your closest friends. Because it can get bad. And then... like,
Yeah,
you
look
and
what
I-
we're doing over
yeah.
here.
No, that's really cool though, because I know Mike and I we've made friends like throughout the years, like online and stuff, but then a bunch just drop off.
Yeah.
No idea who they are.
Yeah.
I think it's super cool that you became like really close friends, and they're like lifelong friends just out of gaming.
Yeah. That's... If you would have said that to me like 5 years ago, I'd be like, no.
Yeah.
Like, it's not going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I was the best man at his wedding.
That's sick.
Or one of the groomsmen.
Groomsman. Yeah.
Yeah, one of the groomsmen.
Is that another word? They have a different word for it.
No, I was making sure I was not saying bridesmaid.
Congrats to Zach. His wedding was recent, right?
Yeah, it was December 6th.
Mm.
So that's why he wasn't there for the first qualifiers week.
Mm-hmm.
And he's same age as you? 28?
I think he's 25. He's got a... Yeah.
He's 25?
He's 25.
Oh, man.
Why?
I thought he was around your age.
Yeah.
Why? Because of his hairline.
No.
You said it. No, that was well, you know, we can go on for like 20 years about it. It's always mind blowing because I think about like Zinni, right? Like that guy. I feel like he's pushing 30 because of how long he's been playing.
Yeah.
And no other reason, you know, just because he's been in it for so long. And then he's 24, 25?
Yep.
he's my age. I'm like, bro, like it's crazy
Yeah.
to me.
Yeah.
You know, the guys who you think are like they're labeled as like he's a veteran.
Vet.
You
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
And then to see how old they are, you know, some of these guys can't even go to a bar, and I'm like, they're like 19
Yeah.
years old. I'm like, dude,
Yeah.
like you were born in 2000, like in the 2000s.
Yeah. If you're born in the 2000s, you're right. Yeah.
You're like 2003. I'm like, Jesus.
Yeah, that's why we're called dinosaurs. When we went to
Yeah.
the major, everybody there was like, "Yeah, I'm 18. I'm still in
Yeah.
high school." I'm like, "What?"
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm 23.
See, I was thinking about like the other day, like on Scump's retirement. It's like a lot of people that like watch Scump are like 23, 24, 24
Mhm.
because like, I mean, I think Scump's my age, but it's like
Yeah.
the people that
Yeah.
were like coming up with him and watching him were like
Mhm.
very similar age to Scump. So you think a lot of the fans of Scump are like the typical young Optic fans, but it's
Mhm.
like
Right.
actually they're quite actually mature these days, or
Mhm. They try to act mature.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, yeah.
Look, I don't want to get into
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's
Optic
like-
fans.
Yeah.
Well, it's like, you know, we were, yeah. I mean, it's like with us, you know, when we watched him, I knew you more than I did at the start. You know, we watched all their old content, like, you know, like actually watching
Mhm.
that was at Sweat Bannon, like when that came out.
Yeah.
You know,
him and Nate just literally on folding desks,
Yeah.
twerking.
yeah, doing stupid stuff. And it's like, but throughout the years, yeah, we've grown up and like, again, we work full-time jobs.
Mhm.
We're like functioning people in society.
Yeah.
You know, so it's weird that and even still, you know, we go home from work and we'd watch them.
Yeah.
You know, it's like we haven't changed at all. You know, we were 13 in our bedroom watching them, and now we're 24, 25.
Yeah,
you
decade
know.
later.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You know, signing off of work and then going to the
Yeah.
stream.
Yeah.
It's very weird.
Mhm.
Are you guys able to like while you're at work like have a stream up?
No.
I can. I work from home a lot, so
Yeah.
I have the stream up like a lot.
Nice.
Always watching.
Nice.
Yeah.
So in my class, he texted me. So it was crazy when he texted me when Scump retired. And I had my last group of the day, which were fifth graders.
You didn't cry in front of him, did you?
I almost did. He sent me that, he like full caps, and I'm like, what the fuck? You know, they were like, what? And there was two kids that knew,
Yeah.
which I was shocked by. I couldn't even believe that. They were like Scump from Call of Duty. I'm like, what did you just say? To the kids who don't say anything, I'm like,
Yeah.
hold on, yo, you're my best student now. Man.
Yeah,
I was like, you
come
know
on.
who he is? I tell them, I'm like, man, one of the greatest players ever.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Just called it
Yeah.
career. They couldn't care less. I'm like, you don't get it. But yeah, I mean, I get done at what 3:30. So once the game start at what 4?
4:30.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You know, and I only
Usually.
live like 5 minutes from my work, so I'll like on Fridays and stuff.
Oh.
Yeah.
You got a nice, yeah.
Oh yeah,
That's good.
Yeah, I'll just haul ass home. Yeah, I go order some food, throw on the fuzzy socks like you were saying, and just go watch it.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
So that's the move. I mean, that's what we're gonna do for the major. We took off what Thursday, Friday.
Monday.
Yeah, Thursday, Friday, and Monday. I mean, we're peacing out.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know, saying that I'm gonna be sick that day.
It's like, yeah, I already know I'm going to be sick.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm telling you, that week I'm not gonna be feeling good. So,
Yeah. Dude, do you have like any questions for us or like?
yeah, anything you want to know about
Yeah.
us?
So we could do another episode.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I know. The time's flying.
It's already an hour and a half.
That's crazy.
So I can,
You could ramble on.
yeah, I could
we
keep
do it,
talking.
man. We can keep going.
You have one or two questions, things that you want to know about us,
Anything?
or anything about us, about the podcast, personal questions.
Our views of the breach.
We made that.
You don't need to if you don't have any. We're not that
No,
important.
I'm
Not
gonna
for you.
let me think of a few questions, and maybe we down the track set up another time.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna literally have like 100 questions, and
When we do the next episode with you,
Mhm.
then that's when the tables will be flipped.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'll be interviewing you two.
We'll interview- you get you and get you and Zed to come down.
Yeah,
You guys
Mhm.
will go interview.
yeah,
You'll fill them in on us.
yeah.
Be like, we got to come up with questions for these people.
Like Justin, he really likes Black Ops 4. So what can we? What trivia can we get him on that one?
yeah, exactly. Oh yeah, do a trivia with us on Call of Duty. That won't go over well.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't. No, yeah, man. Like, we just want to say thank you, like, so much for being, our first ever guest, episode 100.
Yeah, it's an honor, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Honest to God,
Pleasure.
huge milestone for us. I'd like 100 weeks in a row posting. Like, I'm not taking that lightly. Like, that's a lot of hard work.
Yeah, man. We think about this like day and night all the time.
Yeah.
And we're talking about we didn't tell anybody about it, and the people that we had like 2 people watching, which was incredible to us, and now it's like if we don't get 100 people playing, we're upset.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just from doing it just over and over again and being like, we can't get discouraged, because we all anything we learned about content, it's like no matter what, I'm sick, I got work stuff, he's got work stuff, it's like we just got to keep doing it no matter what.
Yeah. And like, again, like the whole goal of this, right, is we just want more people to watch Call of Duty.
Yeah.
That's our entire goal. We're called the COD Casuals for a reason. We're not pro players. We're not trying to be pro players.
Yeah.
We just really big CDL fans, and we just want to get more people into the scene.
Yeah, honestly, I love the commitment, and a well-deserved congratulations on 100 weeks straight, because I think every time I go for try to do a diet, it lasts about 4 days. So the fact that you guys have done 100 weeks straight that's impressive. Like, really, really good.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you, my friend.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. And again, thank you to everybody too that's been listening.
Yeah.
And been enjoying it. That's been along with the 100 episodes. Can't thank you enough.
Mm-hmm.
We'll go plug all our socials.
Yeah.
Do it every
all of our
single
socials
episode.
above. Do you want to shout anything out? I mean, we'll leave all of your socials down below.
Come see us at the Boston Breach Major.
There you go.
There you
Feb
go.
2nd to Feb 5th.
Mhm.
There you go. Again, just want to say thank you, Denz. Appreciate you for coming on our podcast. You could have easily ignored us, and that's it anyway. But I think that shows a lot about yourself and your personality. So truly appreciate it again. I think that's it, right?
I think that's it, man. I think we're good.
All right. Thank you, everyone. This has been episode 100. Make sure to go on anchor.fm/the COD Casuals. We're on all streaming platforms. Make sure to go on YouTube, comment, subscribe over there. Definitely go and watch this podcast because I know a lot of you guys are audio listeners, but go watch this video.
Yeah.
Definitely really cool. But yeah, I think that's it.
That's
been
it,
episode
brother.
100, everyone. We're your host, Justin.
I'm Mike.
See you guys next week.
Take it easy, everybody.
See ya.